Oh, hey, Arrancar arc. Now, warning, this is where the plot gets a little bit so I'm going to be frizzing my hair and taking my tie down. Also, I have eaten so many sweets this past week, and that, along with the iced tea that I normally drink, has made me into this crazy caffeinated spastic mood right now. So, perfect time for me to talk about Bleach, right? Okay, so, arc starts off with Ichigo and his friends returning from the Soul Society and defeating vampires, maybe. Oh, by the way, that series is coming back very shortly. Anyway, so, after this, we have Grand Fisher returning to the world of the living. Yeah, remember him, that guy Ichigo almost got killed by way back at the beginning of the Substitute arc? Well, it turns out that he became an Arrancar, which is basically a hollow that has removed his mask through unspecified means. It's actually not really clear or certain exactly how they remove their mask naturally, but with Aizen screwing around with the Hokyoku, he creates an army of Arrancars by removing their mask. Now, Grand Fisher was just a regular hollow. He wasn't a Menos or anything like that. We'll get to that later on, why that's a big deal. But normal hollows that just remove their masks able to gain this much power to begin with, that's crazy. So, Kon tries to fight him off, but of course that does not work at all. And then we have one huge bombshell of the entire series, I must say, is that Isshin, Ichigo's father, turns out to be a Shinigami. And that's crazy because we never even, that doesn't come from anywhere. I mean, we had a little bit of hints earlier, like Zangetsu was like, oh, you have Shinigami powers within you, but, that doesn't mean your father is the Shinigami. I thought they were honestly going to do something like Yu Yu Hakusho with Yusuke, where it turns out it's not his father that's a demon, it's like his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather that turns out to be a demon, and that's why it was like in his lineage. So, I mean, it makes sense at the grand scheme of things, and it's going to make way more sense later on, but yeah, just Isshin's a Shinigami, and he's also a captain level. Now, which squad is he from? We don't know, because Isshin loves to just wear his Captain Aori all scrunched up in one section, so we don't exactly know where his emblem is. Yeah, that's just so convenient, isn't it? So, he makes quick work of Grand Fisher and avenges his wife in the process. Another huge bombshell, not as great, but kind of huge, is we have Uryu, who is currently powerless, who fights against the Menos Grande, and although manages to fight it off a little bit with using some Quincy equipment, which will also be coming into play later on, he is saved by his father, Ryukin, who can actually be considered the last Quincy because he was given the Quincy powers from his father, Soken. This is very interesting because it's like Soken, we were led to believe that Soken was going to pass down his powers to Uryu because Ryukin had no interest in it and he didn't really care, even though he does have very good Quincy powers, although we'll never get to probably see him use it at all during the entire series. So, Ryukin gives Uryu basically an ultimatum. He says, I can restore your lost Quincy powers with the one condition that you never associate with Shinigami again. That is pretty much a bullshit deal, but Uryu takes it anyway. Okay, so at the same time when this is going on, a new student arrives at Ichigo's high school, Shinji Hirako. Shinji Hirako turns out to be something called a Vizard, which is kind of like an Arrancar except reverse of the coin. Arancars are basically hollows that gain Shinigami powers through some means. Vizards are basically Shinigami who gathered hollow powers some unknown means. And although the way they both got their powers is going to be very tied in later on, it's both going to involve the Hokyoku. Shinji tells Ichigo that because he has the hollow powers, that he needs to join them in order to properly master his abilities, or if he doesn't in the near future, his hollow will eat himself out from the inside and he will basically kill all of his friends. Ichigo kind of sort of listens to him, but at the same time just tells him to, go fuck off, basically. Okay, so the arc really gets started off when two majorly strong Arrancars show up in Karakura Town. One is known as Ukiura Shifa, and the other one is Yamirago. These two are part of Sosuke Aizen's most elite guard, known as the Espada, the 10 most strongest Arrancars he's created. Now, these two arrive in Karakura Town kind of just to do like a reconnaissance mission. They're really not there for any particular reason. Aizen's just kind of interested in Ichigo's growth ever since he fought against him in Sokyoku Hill, so he basically sends these two guys down just to relay and see what's going on. Although while they're there, they manage to almost kill Tatsuki, Orihime, and Chad in the process, Orihime realizing that her powers are completely useless, as Tsubaki, her main primary offensive ability, got damaged by Yami quite very easily, so she's kind of bummed out. Chad gets his arm blown off, although in the anime they kind of tone that down a little bit, but Ichigo finally shows up to save the day. Yay! He manages to cut Yami's arm off in the process, however his hollow takes over and completely immobilizes his movement. See, this is very interesting, because before, whenever his hollow took over, he basically just kicked a bunch of ass, but I think at some point, his inner hollow is just like, oh, okay, well, if you're not going to accept me, then I'm just going to freaking hijack your movements and make sure you get the shit kicked beat out of you, just so you know who's boss. So, that basically happens, and he's almost going to die if it wasn't for Urahara and Urawichi showing up at the last minute to save him. Ukiura retreats and states that Ichigo is really not as strong as Aizen expected him to be at this moment. So for the next couple chapters, while Ichigo is healing, he also goes full-on emo mode. I'm talking like Part 1 Sasuke emo mode, thinking that his hollow is going to take over and kill him at any single point, and he can't protect his friends, and all this doubt just fills his head. Which is saved, although, when Renji, Matsumoto, Ikaku, Yumichika, Toshiro, and Rukia, I think I got them all right, return to Karakura Town to kind of help with the Arrancar threat. Rukia helps Ichigo out of his slump because, well, that's just how their dynamic goes, and Ichigo's back on his feet. In the meantime, we have all of Ichigo's other friends like Chad and Orihime Orihime are also kind of bummed out by their powerlessness. But just for the fact of kicking them when they're down, another Legion of Arrancars attack Karakura Town. This one was not sent by Aizen, it was by Grimmjow Jaggerjack, who was another member of the Espada. He's actually number 6. And he just kind of showed up because he was really honestly bored. He brought his elite team of Fraction with them. They're basically like other Arrancar who serve under the Espada, and they go and attack every one of the captains and lieutenants that are also there. Kind of really convenient that all those captains and lieutenants showed up at the exact point when the entire Legion of Arrancar showed up, because otherwise this might have been a little bit of a bloodbath, just saying. So, yeah, it's at this fight that we find out that Ikaku can also use a Bankai. Freaking epic. Along with this, we also find that Ichigo is becoming more and more taken over by Asahara, to the point where even just using a Getsuga Tensho while in Bankai pretty much almost encumbers his movements. With the exception of Grimmjow, all the Arrancar defeated quite easily after Toshiro, Rangiku, and Renji all release their Gentei Kaijo, or limit release, which they're placed on when they get to the world of the living. Ichigo, though, kind of goes back in emo mode after the fight, though. Plus side, we got to see Rukia's Zanpakuto, which is one of the most kick-ass ones ever. It's Sode no Shirayuki. It makes ice, and it's just really beautiful, and it's just... I love her sword, I really do. Also, want to just bring this up if you're an Ichirukia fan, and if you're not, I don't care. Ichigo's Zanpakuto is black in color predominantly, and Rukia's Zanpakuto's color is white predominantly. Complementary colors, just saying, maybe they're meant to be together. Screw you, Orihime. Anyway, after this, Ichigo decides maybe he does need some help learning from the visors, so he goes and locates them, and he enters his intensive hollow training. This involves him going back into his inner world and confronting his inner hollow for complete control. They have a pretty cool badass fight, and at the end of the fight, even though Ichigo does win in the end, Hollow Ichigo states, well, okay, if you want to use my powers, I'll let you because you defeated me, but don't get yourself killed until I come back. So basically, he's not really defeated at this point or completely gone. He's just kind of subservient to his powers for the moment. So if Ichigo has an unwavering heart or doubt or anything like that, he can come back potentially in the future. Foreshadowing. So Ichigo gains the ability to use a Hollow Mask, just like all the other visors. However, he can only maintain it for 11 seconds. Perfect timing for another invasion to start. This time it's a little bit different though. Grimmjow and Yami show up as well, except Grimmjow has been demoted as his point of the Espada, because since he went off to fight against Ichigo and his friends earlier and he lost all of his men without Aizen's permission, Tozen cuts and subsequently burns his arm to cinders as punishment, so therefore he's been demoted now to just a regular Arrancar, while his position as 6th Espada gets taken by Lupi, another Arrancar who doesn't really show up much at all, except for this one battle. Really, I didn't really like her character at all. Or wait, no, is it a he or a him? Wait, hold on. Yeah, well, what does that thing look like to you? It's a guy. I know, right? Frickin' mind screw. Anyway, so they go back into another fight again. This one doesn't really have much of anything. Uruhara shows up, that's pretty cool. Another Arrancar named Wanderweiss Majera, who was recently created by Aizen, shows up, but we don't really know much about him. He just kind of acts like a autistic child, just screaming and yelling a lot, although he does have some secret power that we don't know about yet. Uruhara manages to fight off him and Yami. Aside from that, really nothing else goes on except for the main conflict with Ichigo and Grimmjow, round 2 this time. The battle goes in Ichigo's favor, except he didn't really think about the fact that a battle in anime or manga lasting only 11 seconds is about as likely as the moon spontaneously combusting, so his mask breaks and Grimmjow's about to beat him down even with Rukia's assistance unless Shinji shows up and helps him, and he does, because he's kind of cool like that. Really though, fight against Shinji and Grimmjow is probably one of my favorite in the entire series. In the anime, it's just really cool because they got the music in the background and Shinji blows off a freaking Sero right in Grimmjow's freaking face. It's amazing. So, in the meantime though, while all this is going on, Ukiura is actually kidnapping Orihime. Why? Well, during the first conflict, Ukiura noted that Orihime has the ability not just to heal people, but actually regress time. Although this only really helps when it's inserted into the plot. For example, when she wants to heal Ichigo, it only works some of the time. So, you know, Ukiura and Aizen come up with the fact that Orihime is basically able to bring life back into the dead, but, you know, she doesn't really exhibit this power very much in the future. At any rate, though, Aizen sees it fit to kidnap her, so Ukiura does so. Orihime has a tearful goodbye to Ichigo in his bed where they almost kiss, and so many freaking Ichihime fanfictions were born on this day, and heads off to Wako Mundo. And that's the part I don't get. It's just like, they immediately assume that Orihime just turned traitor and just left. He's like, oh, okay, screw you guys. I've been your friends and allies for so many battles, but I'm just going to head off and be part of Aizen's crew. Get one of those awesome white uniforms, you know what I mean? Isn't it far more likely that she would have left because Ukiura would have threatened all the lives of her friends otherwise? I mean, they really don't get this. I mean, later on, Yama sends some people to help out with the rescue operation, but in the meantime, it's just like a what the fuck moment. Doesn't any, like, criminal psychologist exist in the Soul Society or whatever? Okay, so basically this serves to have another damsel in distress plot because the first one wasn't good enough. Even more hilarious, actually, because Orihime Shinigame's name actually has princess in it. So instead, without the Soul Society's help, Ichigo decides to go on Wake a Window with the assistance of Chad and Uryu, who have been powered up by their new abilities. Yeah, the whole Uryu not being able to help Shinigami is kind of voided here, because it's like, oh, well, the Soul Society's turned their back on you, so yeah, I could totally help you out now. It's bullshit, really. They help him out so much. Ryukin even kind of knows what's going to go on, and he has this little conversation with Isshin before they leave, and it's really cool. So Urahara opens up a gate to Wake a Window, and they all head in to try to rescue Orihime. Did I leave anything out? I don't think I did. Lisa's pretty hot. That's about it.